Hello everyone, this is Danny and welcome to another episode of Saturday Stitching, where I talk about what I have worked on this week and in some cases what I've finished. As I say every week, I will try to make this quick. This time I hope that it will be true because I really don't have a lot that I have worked on or finished this week. So let's get started. Those of you who have been here before know that I work on the needlework rotation. I'm going to be reaching and looking at my notes while I talk. I work on a needlework rotation, which means each day of the week gets devoted to a different category or a different person in my family. So Sundays are gift knitting, where I am working to build up a collection of just random gifts that if you get drawn for like a Secret Santa or something, I can pick one out of the box. And you know how you normally give candles or coffee mugs to somebody in your office, that kind of thing. So I've been working on the fluffy lap blanket. This pattern, by the way, I don't know if I've mentioned before, but this pattern also has instructions for knitting more of a full-size Afghan. If you happen to look it up, it's in the book Weekend Knitting by Melanie Fallick. I'm doing the lapgan, the lap blanket version, because I have some yarn that I want to use up. As we discussed last week, I had made a mistake, more than one, and so I had to rip practically all of my progress out to about 3 inches of the Afghan. So I have made all that progress up plus a little more. Let's see if I can show you. Okay, you see the progress keeper? So I'm already past when I had to rip out. I had just gotten to this second stripe here. Let's see. I had gotten to the second stripe here, and I have gone past the second stripe, as you can see. So I did a good job of making it up, especially considering that I had to rip back again. Because one of the things, even though this in theory is a simple pattern, and you would think I would have it memorized, I mean the entire pattern is basically a paragraph worth of text, but for some reason when I change colors in the lighter brown, when I change from the lighter brown to the darker brown, I'm supposed to decrease the stitches. So that row is supposed to be knit two together all the way across so that I can end up with half as many stitches. And then when I'm done with the darker brown to go back to the lighter brown, I'm supposed to increase in every stitch so that I can have twice as many stitches to do this part. That's how you end up with, as I said last week, that was my mistake. That's how you end up with this gathered look here in the lighter brown. I keep forgetting to do it. And I keep forgetting, because I'm using interchangeables, I keep forgetting to switch. Right now I'm on the larger needles. When you go to the dark brown, I'm supposed to switch to the smaller needle, and I keep forgetting to switch between the larger needles and the smaller needles, and to do the add stitches and the increase stitches and decrease stitches. I don't know what I'm going to do to make myself remember it, because I don't want to keep ripping this out. I would like to be done with this soon, because as I mentioned, the theory is if I can finish, if this one turns out nice, then I will do 2 more. I have enough yarn to do 2 more, and then I can give them as gifts to my husband's aunts. So that's Sunday. Monday is my daughter Maya. Hi Maya. Monday is for my daughter Maya, who does not live with me. She is a woman fully grown, and she lives 2 hours away from me, and she wants socks. So I'm using my yarn that I've had for about 10 years, which is patent stretch socks, and I'm just going to knit the socks. I decided to knit the socks from toe up and just knit them till I run out of yarn, and then the socks will be as tall as I can get them. So far, this is where I am on that. As you can see from the Progress Keeper, right there. There we go, there's the Progress Keeper. This is pink and gray and cream is the colors in this colorway. I don't know if that shows in my lighting. And yeah, it's fingering weight yarn. It takes forever for me to get through it. I thought it would be faster. I'm trying to get up to 8 inches because both of my daughters have 10-inch feet. 2 of my daughters, I think all 3 of them have 10-inch feet, 10 inches long. So I'm trying to get up to 8 inches, and so far I'm about 2 inches. So that's going to take a while. And those socks, I'm following the video tutorial for from Happy Knits. She has a YouTube channel, Happy Knits, and she shows how she does her 2 at a time, and she does a special heel called the Fleegle heel. I like the Turkish cast on, by the way, that she shows in her video. I had never done it before, but I like that Turkish cast on better than Judy's Magic cast on, which is what I used for another pattern project that I'm working on. But before I get to that pattern, that project, Tuesday is for my daughter Sydney, and I was working on the halter top for her. I already showed that halter top last week, so you've already seen it. It's finished. I haven't been able to get her to try it on. She's working 2 different jobs, and whenever she comes home, she's too annoyed with me whenever I say, can you please try this halter top on? So I don't know if I fixed the issue. I mentioned that the border on the bottom had more of a gathered look, more like a peplum, and she wants it tight against her torso. She hates peplums. She wants it tight against her torso. So I did kind of a little nip attaching the ends because it doesn't go all the way around the back. So I attached the ends to one of the straps so that when she ties the straps, it would tighten the bottom border. But she hasn't tried it on for me to see if that worked. So I give up. I made it. I gave it to her. I'm done. So for her, starting next week, I will go back to her blanket project, since that seems to be the only one for me that she's excited about, is having that avatar blanket. So I'm just going to go back to working on that and not try to make her anything else. So that comes to Wednesday, which is for my daughter Chloe. And Chloe wants all the things. She wants all the things. But I am making socks. So I already have a list as long as my arm for stuff to work on for her. So I won't ever run out of ideas for her. Right now I'm working on her socks. I'm only doing her socks one at a time, but I'm doing them toe up. And this is the Simply 200 yards or less, where you're supposed to be able to get a pair of short ankle socks out of a 50-gram ball of fingering weight yarn. So we'll see how that works. But this is where I am with that. Wait a minute. Progress Keeper. There we go. Oh, wait a minute. Can you see? I can't tell the mirror image. So I got a decent amount, as you can see. I got a decent amount done. In total, looking at the sock, I think I measured it, and I think I have about 2.5 inches to go before I start her heel on hers. And once I get to the heel, since these are shorty socks, once I get to the heel, you're 3/4 done, because once you get to the heel, you do a little teeny tiny cuff and then you're done. So, but then I would have to cast on for the second sock, which I'm tempted. This one I used the Judy's cast on, Magic cast on, and that cast on always confuses me, because I always get confused as to which direction to do that little figure 8 thing or whatever. The Turkish cast on was just so much easier. Just take it and wrap it around the number of wraps that you need. I think I'll probably use that cast on for the other sock on this one, probably. I hope it doesn't make too much difference in the toe. But so far so good on the socks. I just wish they went faster. I may try maybe seeing if I can find more of a sport weight yarn for socks. I want the problem is I want the fabric to be as fine as possible so that they feel almost like, you know, store-bought socks. I mean, hand knit socks are supposed to be better than store-bought socks, but I don't want them to be worse than store-knit socks. I want them to put the socks on and go, oh, these are really nice. I want the difference to be a good difference, in other words. I don't want them to put them on and go, ew, these are not like the socks I bought from the store. I don't like wearing these. You know, so that's why I hesitate to make sport weight socks or worsted weight socks, because they might notice the difference. But I might make some for the winter. So that brings Thursday, and Thursday is for my son. And in the past I've said I don't have anything that I'm working on for my son because the Afghan that I want for him, I don't have the yarn and I don't have the funds for that right now. And the socks that I want to knit for him, again, don't have the funds. But I did have some yarn that I wanted to get rid of, and I decided to make a remote caddy for his chair. He has a chair he sits in. Remote caddy, if you've never seen one, is like a pocket that you have a flap that you tuck in. It goes over the arm of the chair. You have a flap that you tuck in so that it doesn't fall, and then the part that hangs out, you stick your remote, your glasses, your whatever. So I am using some yarn that did not, well, one of them had a label. This is Red Heart in Hunter Green, and this is some anonymous. You can tell it's been sitting in the pile of what was I thinking, the what was I thinking bag where everything's in a knot. Yeah, you can tell this is, I extricated this from that pile and haven't bothered to rewind it. But the pattern that I picked out, all the patterns I saw either called for buckle yarn or 2 strands of worsted held together. So I went for one that called for 2 strands of worsted held together, and so those 2 colors are being held together for me to make this. So this is as far as I've gotten so far. This is starting the back pocket. And I know it's kind of wide, but because the one I picked is actually a couch caddy, where you tuck it under the couch cushion and then it sticks out. So like if you're sitting on the couch, then your caddy will either be beside your leg or it'll be sitting in between your legs, and you can just reach down and put your remote or whatever in there. Which is a good thing I picked that pattern, because I was working on this on Thursday and I showed my husband and I told him, this is what I'm making. This is Isaac's project. I'm making it for his chair down there. And he looks at me and says, oh, I'm getting rid of that chair because it's broken down. And I'm like, but you don't even sit down there. He sits in that chair every day and he seems to be happy with the chair. And I know my husband. He says he's going to get rid of stuff, and then it may be months before he actually gets around to, because he works so many hours, God bless him, that it may be months before he gets around to hauling that chair away. So instead of waiting and saying, oh, well, I'm not going to make this now because he's going to haul the chair away, I'm going to go ahead and make it. But since I picked the one that works for the couch as well as the chair, if he does get rid of the chair in the immediate future, then I can put it on that couch, which is also in the same den where my son sits. So it'll work. I tried to convince my son to go for this yarn. I gave him a choice. I tried to convince him to go for this yarn because I've got 3 full skeins of this that I was originally going to make a skirt with, and I can't figure out what I want to do with it. Now that I've taken it out and felt it again, it is a bit rougher because I've had this for a long time, and it is a bit rougher than the newer skeins of Red Heart Super Saver that I just got for Mother's Day. So I don't all of a sudden I can't think of what I want to do with this. I mean, it would have been fine for a skirt, but I don't think I want to make that skirt anymore. So I don't know what. This is in watercolor, so it's, you know, it's pale greens and pale yellows and some lilac, and so I guess I can understand why he didn't want it on his chair. As soon as I took this out, he said, I want the 2 greens. He just like pushed this out of the way. He didn't even want this. So I'm like, okay, so I have to find something else to do with this. So I know I've said before that I thought I might make a shawl with this, which we have come to Friday, by the way. Friday is for my husband. Don't have any projects picked out for him yet. Won't have any projects for him in the foreseeable future until I have money to get yarn for, because he likes hats made out of fingering weight yarn, and socks. He can only wear black socks to work. Like my son can only wear black socks, and he can't wear wool. So until I have money to get yarn fit for purpose, I haven't started anything for him. So that comes to Saturday. Saturday is either knitting for myself, or stitching, I should say, stitching for myself, or stitching for charity again, or gifts, or the house. So Saturday's kind of a catch-all day. But I'm thinking, since I have this yarn that I still don't know what to do with, I've been wanting to try the Virus Meets Granny shawl, and so I think that might be what I do with this yarn. I may have mentioned that last week, but I'm mentioning it again. So that is all that I've been working on, and I've been thinking about working on. That covers my needlework rotation. So if that's what you've shown up for, then we're just about done. I do want to mention that I made a lot of knitting and crochet YouTubers that I follow have discussed going to every other week during the summer, and I am thinking about doing the same thing, not just for the summer, but in general, because I am discovering that I don't finish things fast enough to have items to show. So after this week's video, my videos, the Saturday stitching videos, will be every other week unless I have finished something. Then I'll throw in a bonus video on the off week. But we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. But if I've made significant progress where I have something to show 2 Saturdays in a row, then I will do a video. Otherwise, you should expect to see a video every other week. Even if I haven't made a lot of progress, I'm not going to go more than 2 weeks without doing a video. Let's put it that way. Because I'm trying to make this more of a habit of, you know, putting myself out in the world, even if it's just virtually. So, as I said, if you showed up for the stitchy stuff, that's all the stitchy stuff. The rest of this is pretty much chatter for my daughter who's away from home. So thank you for stopping by, and talk to you in 2 weeks. Okay, so we're on to the chatter section, and I did mention that I was going to start doing videos every other week, partly because I don't have a lot to show, but to go along with that, another reason why I'm going to do videos every other week is that I have been having some issues with my health. I didn't want to mention this because I don't want to scare my daughter, Maya. Don't get scared and freak out. It's not that bad. Okay, it's not that serious. It's just that I hesitated to mention this because I didn't want to sound like I'm asking for pity or, oh, I'm so sorry that you're going through this, Danny, type of thing. You know, there's a part of me that's like, oh yes, please pity me. But then there's the other part of me that is like, you know what, there are people who have worse issues than you do, so just suck it up and drive on. And that's where I am right now. But I do feel like I want to explain to you that I started 2 weeks ago. I have MS. And I don't have my symptoms, my multiple sclerosis symptoms are not as strong as some people. I'm not in a wheelchair. I'm not, having a lot of the issues that some people have. However, for the past several years, it seems like this time of year when it gets really hot and we don't really have air conditioning in my house, we have window units that we use, but not, central air, that it seems like I have symptoms that my symptoms seem to exacerbate this time of year. And eventually, it clears up and settles down and goes back to normal. But like last year, for about a month, I had very limited vision. And this year, it seems to be affecting my hands. I'm having a lot of numbness, worse than usual. And so for the past week, my right hand feels like, this is my left hand, feels like it is in a permanent state of frostbite. And it's not that in the morning, it's not that bad, but it's like just dead fingers here. As the day wears on, it gets worse. And by the time I get to about 8 or 9 o'clock, there is pain, especially in this area of my finger. There is pain. And it makes it difficult. And there's stiffness. And no, it looks like I'm moving my hand fine. But that's why they call MS the invisible disease. It looks like I'm moving my hand fine. But this is very stiff. Very, very stiff. And the stiffness part has traveled down my body to the left side of my back and my left hip. So a lot of numbness on the tops of my thighs. But as far as the knitting is concerned, the knitting and crocheting part of it, I can't stitch as quickly. I haven't tried crocheting because all my projects right now are knitting projects. But strangely enough, it seems like I can do the socks easier than everything else because it's all knit stitch. But the problem with that is where the yarn rubs, because I knit continental, and so I hold the yarn over my finger, and for some reason the yarn touching the top of my hand feels like someone is pricking me with pins. So I'm having to go back to knitting English. But still, I can do the knit stitch okay. The purl stitch, when I was doing the Afghan, the purl stitch, for some reason, it's just really slow. When I try to purl continental, because I use my fingers to kind of wrap the purl around, I use my left hand to wrap the yarn around the needle, and it's like my fingers don't want to do the motion. So purling is much more difficult. So I'm still knitting, I'm still crocheting, because these symptoms are just part of the disease, part of the condition, and there's not really anything that you can do about them. Just wait for them to eventually go away. So I can't, there's no pill I can take to make it feel better or anything like that. So I'm trying to just, as I said, suck it up and drive on. But at the same time, I don't want to keep making videos and not have anything to show and have everybody going, oh my gosh, she's only knit one row since the last video. Why is she on here? So I figure if I make my videos every other week, it'll give me more time to make more of a difference. And honestly, I'm hoping sometime, because it's already been a week that my hand has been like this, so I'm hoping that maybe within this week, by the time I get to the next video in July, because the next video would be scheduled for the second Saturday in July, hopefully I will hopefully this will be gone, or at least lessened enough that I can knit better and crochet better. Crocheting might be a better choice. I might try to crochet some today to see how that works, because I don't use, for crochet, I feel like I use more of my right hand than my left hand. And I have some numbness in my right hand, but there's no pain and stiffness in the right hand. It's just numbness. So I can do fine with my right hand, but my left hand is just, it's like it doesn't want to do. So that's pretty much what is going on with me. Maya, your brother's birthday is next week, July 1st. So you might want to plan to give him a call or send him a card. What else? That's it. There's not really anything else. I'm trying to do more reading. I haven't done much exercise this week because this, as I said, the stiffness has traveled to my back and my hip. So I tried to exercise once this week, but that's it. I think Wednesday I exercised. I did a 15-minute Zumba video, but that's it. Other than that, there's not a lot to report around here. I always seem to have a whole lot more chatter when I'm just sitting on my couch thinking, oh, I'll tell Maya that in the video, and then when I get to the video, I can't think of anything to say. So maybe next time I'll start making more notes and writing stuff down so I have more stuff to say, because right now I can't think of anything. My mind is an absolute blank. Can't think of a thing. Other than I've been playing Life is Strange with your sister Chloe and your brother, and I'm really enjoying that. It's really almost like a choose your own adventure book. And we're down to the last 2 episodes. We did the first 3 episodes, so I think we still have the 4th and 5th episode to go. But I really like it. The music in it is really good and everything. So that's, and when I say playing the video game, what I mean is that I'm knitting on your socks, Maya, while they're working the controller. Because you know how I am with video games and controllers. I'm not so good. So I like to be there to help them make decisions and solve the puzzles if there's any puzzles or anything. But me actually using the controller is no good. But okay, so that's it. That's all the chatter I have for this week. The next video you will see from me, if you follow my reading videos, then you'll see either a Friday Reads or an ARC Talk next Friday. If you're only here for all that stitchy yarn goodness, then you'll see one of those the second weekend in July. Not next Saturday, but the Saturday after. Okay, I hope you are having a good Saturday, enjoying your stitching and accomplishing good things. Bye.